In a time when courage was as valuable as gold, there stood out a man whose name would echo through the centuries: Joshua, son of Nun. Originating from the tribe of Ephraim, he was not just another face in the crowd wandering through the desert. No, Joshua was special, endowed with a bravery that made hearts beat faster and skills that left many in awe. Imagine this: a vast, unforgiving wilderness. The Israelites, freed from Egypt, are on a 40-year journey. Among them is a young man, originally named Hoshea, meaning salvation. But he catches the eye of Moses, the great prophet, who sees something extraordinary in him. Moses renames him Yehoshua, or Joshua, which means the Lord is salvation. This wasn't just a name change, it was a prophecy, a glimpse into the incredible destiny that awaited him. Joshua's first major test came early. The Amalekites, a fierce nomadic tribe, attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. While Moses ascended a hill to pray, he didn't choose a seasoned general to lead the counterattack. He chose Joshua. This was a huge vote of confidence. Joshua, filled with faith and strategic genius, led his men into battle. As long as Moses' hands were raised in prayer, Joshua and his forces prevailed. It was a stunning victory, and it marked Joshua as a military leader of immense potential. He wasn't just following orders. He was a commander, a protector of his people. But Joshua's courage wasn't only on the battlefield. It was a courage of conviction. He was chosen as one of the 12 spies sent to scout the promised land of Canaan. For 40 days they explored the land, a land flowing with milk and honey, just as promised. But they also saw giants and fortified cities. When they returned, 10 of the spies were terrified. They painted a picture of doom, telling the people, "We can't attack those people. They're stronger than we are." Panic and despair swept through the camp. But 2 men stood against this tide of fear: Joshua and Caleb. They tore their clothes in distress and pleaded with the people. Joshua declared, "The land we passed through and explored is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will lead us into that land and will give it to us. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not be afraid of the people of the land, because we will devour them. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them." That took guts, to stand up against the majority, to challenge the overwhelming fear, and to hold firm to faith. This unwavering trust in the divine promise set Joshua apart. While the others saw obstacles, Joshua saw opportunity. While they saw giants, he saw a God who was bigger. As Moses' right-hand man, Joshua was always learning, always observing. He was the one who stayed at the tent of meeting, even after Moses had left, soaking in the divine presence. He wasn't just a soldier. He was a student of faith, a devoted apprentice to one of history's greatest leaders. This unique combination of military prowess, unshakable faith, and loyal service prepared him for the monumental task ahead. When the time came for Moses to pass on, the leadership of an entire nation, a nation on the brink of claiming its destiny, was placed on Joshua's shoulders. The Lord himself commissioned him, saying, "As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you." Gotta be strong and very courageous. Joshua's story is more than just an ancient tale. It's a powerful lesson in leadership, faith, and the courage to stand for what you believe in, even when you're standing alone. He went from being a slave in Egypt to a spy in a hostile land, and finally, the commander who would lead his people into their promised home. What do you find most inspiring about Joshua's early life? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of incredible figures from history. Thanks for watching. Ever wondered what it takes to lead a nation through 40 years of wilderness? Today, we're diving into the epic story of a man who did just that, Joshua. His journey wasn't just about survival. It was about becoming one of history's most legendary leaders. For 4 decades, while the people of Israel traversed the scorching sands of the desert, Joshua revealed himself as a formidable warrior and a born leader. Imagine this: under the relentless sun, with scarce resources and lurking dangers, Joshua not only survived, but thrived. His skill with the sword was legendary, but it wasn't just that. He possessed a strategic mind that saw beyond the immediate threat, planning for a future that many couldn't even envision. Think about the sheer pressure. 40 years is a long time, Generations were born and passed away in that desert. Hope could easily fade, replaced by doubt and fear. Yet Joshua remained a steadfast pillar of strength. He wasn't just following Moses. He was learning from him, absorbing every lesson about faith, leadership, and perseverance. And while others might have complained about the manna from heaven or the lack of water, Joshua was training, honing his skills, and preparing for the destiny he knew awaited him and his people. He was the one on the front lines, defending the camp from raids and scouting the treacherous terrain ahead. His courage was contagious, inspiring others to believe that a promised land was not just a dream, but a tangible goal. But what truly set Joshua apart was his unwavering faith. In a world of uncertainty, he held on to a promise. He saw every challenge not as a setback, but as a tested divine crucible designed to forge the Israelites into a strong, unified nation. When Moses sent 12 spies into the land of Canaan, 10 came back with terrifying reports of giants and fortified cities, spreading fear throughout the camp. Their message was simple: we can't win. But Joshua, along with Caleb, saw things differently. He saw a land of opportunity, a land blessed by God, and he passionately argued that with faith, they could overcome any obstacle. He saw the giants not as an impassable barrier, but as a challenge they were meant to conquer. This moment was a turning point. It showed that Joshua's leadership was rooted in a perspective that transcended fear. He understood that the biggest battles are often fought not on the battlefield, but within the hearts and minds of the people. His ability to instill hope when all seemed lost was his greatest weapon. He wasn't just a military commander. He was a motivator, a beacon of conviction in a sea of despair. This deep, unshakable trust in a higher purpose would become the very foundation of his leadership when the time came for him to take command. After Moses' death, the mantle of leadership fell upon Joshua. The wandering was over. The conquest was about to begin. It was a daunting task. He had to lead a generation that had only known the desert into a land filled with hostile kingdoms and powerful armies. But Joshua was ready. The 40 years in the wilderness had prepared him for this very moment. He had learned patience, strategy, and the importance of unity. His first major test was the impenetrable city of Jericho. Militarily, a direct assault seemed impossible. But Joshua's strategy wasn't conventional. He followed a divine plan that defied all military logic, marching around the city for 7 days. Imagine the discipline and trust required from his army to follow such an unorthodox command. This wasn't just about blind obedience. It was about their faith in their leader, a faith Joshua had spent decades building. And when the walls of Jericho came tumbling down, it was a powerful validation of his leadership and a testament to the power of faith in action. The story of Joshua teaches us that true leadership isn't just about strength or tactics. It's about vision, courage, and an unshakable belief in a greater purpose. He transformed a generation of wanderers into a nation of conquerors, proving that even in the harshest of deserts, greatness can be forged. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story of leadership and faith, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content just like this. See you in the next video. What truly set him apart was his ability to think strategically and stay calm when everyone around him was losing their heads. It was as if he had a sixth sense to anticipate the enemy's moves, a skill that would later prove crucial. But don't be mistaken into thinking Joshua was just muscles and strategy. His true strength came from something deeper, an unshakable faith. This wasn't just a belief he held in his mind. It was the very core of his being, the compass that guided every decision he made. When faced with overwhelming odds, when even his closest allies were gripped by fear and doubt, Joshua's faith gave him a unique kind of courage. It allowed him to see beyond the immediate danger and focus on the promise of victory. This inner strength was his secret weapon, more powerful than any sword or shield. It gave him the clarity to lead, the resilience to endure, and the vision to inspire a whole nation to believe in the impossible. Let's dive deeper into this fascinating figure. To understand the man, we have to look back at his beginnings. Joshua wasn't born into leadership. He started as a servant, an apprentice to the great leader Moses. Imagine that. For 40 long years, while the Israelites wandered through the desolate wilderness, Joshua was there, learning, observing, and absorbing every lesson. He saw firsthand what it took to lead a stubborn and often rebellious people. He witnessed moments of incredible miracles and moments of profound human failure. This long apprenticeship was the crucible that forged his character, taught him patience, humility, and most importantly, it solidified his trust in a higher power. While others complained about the lack of food or the long, arduous journey, Joshua was learning what it meant to rely on something greater than himself. This period wasn't a waste of time. It was the most critical training he could have ever received, preparing him for the monumental task that lay ahead. The transition of leadership from Moses to Joshua is one of the most poignant moments in history. Imagine the pressure. Moses was a legend, a larger-than-life figure who had spoken face-to-face with God and parted the Red Sea. Now, the mantle was being passed to Joshua. The entire nation looked to him, their eyes filled with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. Could he fill those gigantic shoes? The instructions he received were simple yet profound. Be strong and courageous. This wasn't just a pep talk. It was a divine command, repeated 3 times for emphasis. It was an acknowledgement of the immense fear and doubt he must have been feeling. The promise that came with it was what made all the difference. I will be with you. Will never leave you nor forsake you. This assurance became the bedrock of Joshua's leadership. It transformed his natural abilities into extraordinary ones. Every strategic decision, every bold move he made from that point on was rooted in this foundational promise. He wasn't leading alone. He was co-piloting with the ultimate guide. Now, let's talk about his first major test as a leader, the city of Jericho. From a military perspective, Jericho was a fortress. Its massive walls were considered impenetrable. A direct assault would have been suicidal, and a long siege would have depleted his army's resources and morale. The conventional wisdom of war offered no viable solution. So what did Joshua do? He listened. The battle plan he received was, to put it mildly, bizarre. March around the city once a day for 6 days, and on the 7th day, march around it 7 times. Have the priests blow their trumpets and have the entire army shout. Can you imagine presenting that strategy to your generals? They must have thought he was crazy. It defied all military logic. But this is where Joshua's years of training and faith kicked in. He trusted the plan, not because it made sense to him, but because of who it came from. He conveyed this unconventional strategy with such conviction that the entire nation followed his lead without question. They marched, they blew their trumpets, and they shouted, and then the impossible happened. The walls of Jericho came crumbling down. This victory wasn't won by military might, but by an act of collective, obedient faith. It was a powerful statement to his people and to all the surrounding kingdoms. The strength of this army was not in its numbers or its weapons, but in its unwavering obedience to a higher command. Joshua's story is so much more than a historical account of ancient battles. It's a timeless masterclass in leadership, faith, and strategy. Think about the lessons we can draw for our own lives. How often do we face our own walls of Jericho, seemingly impossible challenges at work, in our relationships, or in our personal goals? We strategize, we worry, we exhaust all conventional options, and sometimes we just give up. Joshua's example teaches us to look for a different kind of strategy, one that might not make logical sense at first. It's about having the courage to step out in faith, even when the path is unclear. It's about the importance of patience and preparation, understanding that the wilderness periods of our lives are often our most important training grounds. And above all, it's about being strong and courageous. Not because we feel strong, but because we trust in a promise that we are not alone in our struggles. His legacy reminds us that true strength isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of it, fueled by a conviction that goes beyond what our eyes can see. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of history's most fascinating figures. See you in the next video. Have you ever faced a moment where everyone around you was filled with doubt and fear, but deep down, you felt a sense of certainty? A conviction that everything would be all right, even when the odds were stacked against you? Today, we're diving into the story of a man who embodied this very spirit, Joshua. His journey through the desert wasn't just a physical trek. It was a profound testament to the power of unwavering faith. Imagine this. You're standing on the edge of a promised land, a place you've dreamed of for years. But between you and that dream are giants, fortified cities, and a whole lot of uncertainty. This was the reality for the Israelites after they escaped Egypt. They sent 12 spies to check out the land of Canaan. When they returned, 10 of them brought back a report of fear. They spoke of powerful enemies and insurmountable obstacles. Their words spread like wildfire, and the people's hearts melted with despair. They saw only defeat. But 2 men, Joshua and Caleb, saw something entirely different. Amidst the chorus of doubt, Joshua stood firm. He didn't deny the challenges. He saw the giants. He saw the fortified cities. But he also saw something bigger: God's promise. He declared to the people that with God on their side, the giants were nothing. He chose to focus on the power of the promise, not the size of the problem. This wasn't a blind leap of faith. Joshua had walked with God. He had witnessed the parting of the Red Sea. He had seen manna fall from heaven. He had experienced God's provision in the harshest of environments. His faith was built on a foundation of lived experiences and fulfilled promises. He knew firsthand that God was faithful. This moment defined Joshua's leadership. While the generation of doubters was destined to wander in the desert, Joshua's faith prepared him to lead the next generation into their inheritance. His trust wasn't just a personal feeling. It was an active, forward-moving force. It propelled him to see possibilities where everyone else saw dead ends. When they finally stood before the walls of Jericho, it was Joshua's faith in God's unconventional plan that brought the walls tumbling down. When they faced mighty armies, it was his steadfast trust that secured victory after victory. Joshua's story teaches us a powerful lesson about perspective. In our own lives, we all face deserts, times of hardship, uncertainty, and opposition. We encounter giants' challenges that seem too big to overcome. And often, we're surrounded by voices of doubt, both from others and from within ourselves. In these moments, we have a choice. We can focus on the obstacles, let fear paralyze us, and wander in our own personal wilderness. Or we can be like Joshua. We can choose to remember the past faithfulness we've experienced. We can anchor ourselves in the promises we hold on to, whatever they may be. We can choose to believe that there is a power greater than our problems. This kind of faith isn't about ignoring reality. It's about seeing a greater reality. It's about looking at the giants in our lives and saying, "My God is bigger." It's a trust that transforms fear into courage and obstacles into opportunities. Joshua's legacy is a reminder that unwavering faith isn't just about believing. It's about moving forward, leading with conviction, and ultimately stepping into the promises that await us. So the next time you find yourself in the desert, surrounded by doubt, remember Joshua. Let his story inspire you to stand firm, to trust in the journey, and to see the victory that lies beyond the giants. Thanks so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that inspires. We'll see you in the next video.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel where we dive into stories of leadership, courage, and legacy. Today we're talking about a figure who embodies all these qualities and more, Joshua. His journey wasn't just about winning battles, it was about building a nation's character. As the years passed, Joshua became not just a respected warrior, but an example for all the people.
Young men watched him with admiration, dreaming of one day being like him. Adults sought his advice, trusting in his wisdom. Even the elders, those who had seen it all, recognized a special quality in him. His leadership wasn't about power or control. It was rooted in a deep, unshakable faith and a commitment to doing what was right. He showed everyone that true strength comes from integrity and a steadfast heart. Think about it. In a time of constant change and uncertainty, Joshua was a rock, never wavered from his principles. When faced with challenges that would make others crumble, he stood firm. His eyes fixed on the promise he was leading his people toward. This consistency was magnetic. People weren't just following a commander. They were following a man who lived and breathed his convictions. His life was a testament to the idea that who you are is just as important as what you do. One of the most powerful aspects of Joshua's influence was how he mentored the next generation. He didn't just command the young warriors, he inspired them. He would share stories of their history, reminding them of the struggles they had overcome and the promises that lay ahead. He taught them that courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. He showed them that true victory wasn't just about conquering land, but about conquering their own doubts and weaknesses. He was building future leaders, not just followers. The adults in the community also leaned on him heavily. When disputes arose, they didn't go to a judge who only knew the law. They went to Joshua, who understood people. He had this incredible ability to listen, to see the heart of a matter, to offer guidance that was both wise and compassionate. He knew that a strong community was built on justice and fairness, and he worked tirelessly to ensure that everyone was treated with respect. His counsel wasn't just about solving problems. It was about healing divisions and strengthening the bonds between people. And what about the elders? These were the keepers of tradition, the ones who had seen leaders come and go. They didn't give their respect lightly. But in Joshua, they saw something different. They saw a man who honored the past but wasn't bound by it. He respected their wisdom but wasn't afraid to forge a new path when necessary. He had the humility to learn from their experience and the courage to lead them into an unknown future. Their recognition of his special quality was perhaps the highest praise he could receive. It was a sign that his leadership was not just for the moment, but for the ages. Joshua's story is a powerful reminder for all of us. It teaches us that leadership is not about a title or a position, it's about character. It's about living with integrity, inspiring others through your actions, and having the courage to stand for what you believe in, no matter the cost. He showed that one person, driven by faith and a clear purpose, can truly shape the destiny of a nation. His legacy wasn't just in the cities they built or the battles they won. It was in the hearts and minds of the people he led. He was a warrior, a judge, a mentor, and a guide. But above all, he was a man of unwavering faith who dedicated his life to serving his people and his God. His story challenges us to look at our own lives and ask, what kind of legacy are we building? Are we living with the same kind of purpose and integrity? Joshua's example continues to shine brightly, a beacon for anyone who aspires to lead a life of meaning and impact. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore the incredible story of Joshua. If you found this inspiring, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of great leaders from history. Let me know in the comments what you find most inspiring about Joshua's journey. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning. Joshua carried with him a flame, a light that illuminated the path not just for himself but for everyone around him. The desert did not forgive the weak, but Joshua seemed to draw strength from the very difficulties. Each obstacle overcome was a lesson learned, each victory a confirmation of his calling. He wasn't born a leader in the traditional sense. He didn't come from a royal line or possess immense wealth. He was simply a man chosen, a man who said yes when the call came. Think about that for a moment. How often are we presented with challenges that seem insurmountable? We look at the vast, unforgiving desert of our own lives, the career setbacks, the personal struggles, the moments of doubt, and we feel small, insignificant, and weak. But Joshua's story teaches us something profound. His strength wasn't an absence of fear, it was the courage to act in spite of it. His wisdom wasn't about knowing all the answers, it was about trusting the guidance he was given, one step at a time. The desert was his training ground. The relentless sun, the scarcity of water, the constant threat of ambush, these weren't just hardships to be endured. They were the very tools that forged him into the leader his people needed. Every sunrise was a reminder of a new beginning, a new chance to prove his resolve. He learned to read the shifting sands, to find water where others saw only barren rock, and to inspire hope in hearts that were close to despair. He understood that true leadership wasn't about being the strongest or the loudest. It was about being the steadiest hand, the calmest voice in the storm. It was about shouldering the burdens of others and reminding them of the destination. Even when the journey seemed endless, the light he carried wasn't his own. It was a borrowed flame, a sacred trust. He knew his purpose was to keep it burning brightly, to share its warmth, and to use it to light the way forward. He wasn't just leading a march. He was nurturing a community. He taught them to rely on each other, to share their resources, and to celebrate every small victory as a collective triumph. The walls of Jericho didn't fall because of military might alone. They fell because of unwavering faith and unified purpose. This is the essence of Joshua's legacy. He shows us that our greatest trials can become our greatest teachers. The deserts of our lives, the very places we fear the most, can be the landscapes where we discover our true strength and purpose. The obstacles that seem designed to break us are often the very things that build us. Joshua wasn't a superhuman. He was a testament to what an ordinary person can achieve when guided by an extraordinary faith. He saw the potential in his people, even when they couldn't see it in themselves. He saw a nation of victors, not victims. He transformed a generation that had known only wandering into a people ready to claim their inheritance. His life was a masterclass in perseverance. It's a story that echoes through the ages, reminding us that even in our darkest moments, we can choose to be a light. We can draw strength from our struggles and use them to illuminate the path for ourselves and for those who walk alongside us. Each challenge we face is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become more than we were before. Joshua's journey from the shadow of Moses to a leader in his own right is a powerful blueprint for our own lives. It's about stepping up, trusting the process, and understanding that the victory isn't just at the end of the road. The victory is in each faithful step taken along the way. So when you face your own desert, remember Joshua. Remember that the journey itself is what forges the hero. The difficulties are not there to defeat you. They are there to define you. Let your challenges be your lessons, and let your struggles become your strength. Carry your own flame, however small it may seem, and have the courage to light the way. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more content like this. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, stay strong and keep moving forward. Have you ever felt like you're fighting a battle on two fronts? One you can see, and another one raging inside you? If so, you're going to want to hear the story of Joshua. We often remember him as a mighty warrior, the man who led the Israelites into the promised land after Moses. We picture him at the walls of Jericho, a symbol of military genius and unwavering faith. And he was all of that, a brilliant strategist who conquered city after city. But that's only half his story. The battles Joshua fought weren't just against armies with swords and shields. He was also fighting a much tougher, more subtle war, a spiritual one. Imagine the pressure. You've just taken over from Moses, a legendary leader. You're responsible for an entire nation of people who have been wandering in the desert for 40 years. They're tired, they're scared, and frankly, they're a little prone to complaining. The land they're supposed to inherit is filled with fortified cities and formidable enemies. In an environment like that, discouragement isn't just a risk. It's practically in the air you breathe. This is where Joshua's true strength shines. He wasn't just a general. He was a beacon of hope. When despair started to creep in, when the people started to doubt if this whole promised land thing was even real, Joshua was the one who stood firm. He constantly reminded them of God's promise. He would say, "Remember what God told us? He is with us. He has already given us this land." He was the national cheerleader, the spiritual backbone of an entire generation. His job was to keep their eyes fixed on the divine promise that lay ahead, not on the giants standing in their way. Think about the sheer mental and spiritual fortitude that requires. Every single day, he had to wake up and not only believe in the promise himself, but also inspire hundreds of thousands of others to believe it too. He had to project a confidence he might not have always felt. He had to be the rock when everyone else felt like they were sinking in quicksand. This spiritual leadership was arguably more crucial than any military strategy. Without it, the army would have been paralyzed by fear, and the nation would have crumbled from within. But here's something really important to remember. Do we think Joshua was some kind of superhero who was immune to fear or doubt? The Bible is very clear about this. Repeatedly, God tells Joshua, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged." Why would God need to say that over and over again if Joshua wasn't feeling afraid or discouraged? Like every human being, he had his moments of weakness. He had those dark nights of the soul where he probably wondered if he was up to the task. He felt the weight of his responsibility. There were times when things went wrong, like the devastating defeat at Ai. In that moment of failure, Joshua didn't just brush it off. He fell on his face before God, torn and confused, asking why this had happened. This wasn't a man of blind, unthinking faith. was a man who wrestled with God, who brought his doubts and his pain directly to the source of his strength. And it's in those moments of vulnerability that we can relate to him the most. His perfection wasn't in never falling. It was in how he always got back up and turned back to God. So, the story of Joshua isn't just about conquering land. It's about conquering the internal landscape of fear and doubt. It shows us that true strength isn't the absence of weakness, but the courage to lead and believe even when you're afraid. It teaches us that our biggest battles are often the ones fought in our own hearts and minds. And just like Joshua, we're constantly reminded to be strong and courageous. Not because we are perfect, but because the one who made the promise is faithful. What battles are you fighting today? Maybe they're visible to everyone, or maybe they're silent struggles no one else can see. Take a page out of Joshua's book. Acknowledge the fight, but focus on the promise. And remember, it's okay to have moments of doubt as long as you know where to turn for your strength. Thanks so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that dives deep into the stories that shape us. Have you ever felt like you're standing on the edge of a huge promise? Something you've been waiting for your whole life, but there's a giant, impossible wall standing in your way? That's exactly where Joshua found himself. After 40 long years in the desert, he was finally at the doorstep of the promised land. But it wasn't an empty paradise waiting for him. It was a land filled with fortified cities and formidable enemies. The dream was so close, yet it seemed so far. Imagine the pressure on his shoulders. He was the successor to Moses, a legendary figure. The eyes of an entire nation were on him, filled with a mix of hope and doubt. They had seen miracles, yes, but they had also seen hardship. They were tired, and their faith was fragile. Joshua couldn't afford to show any weakness. Every decision, every move he made was critical. One wrong step could lead to disaster, not just for him, but for everyone who was counting on him. This wasn't just about conquering land. It was about fulfilling a divine destiny. The weight of that responsibility must have been immense. It wasn't just external battles he had to fight. Think about the internal struggle. The voices of fear and doubt must have been screaming in his mind. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if I lead my people into ruin? These are the same whispers we all hear when we face our own giants, aren't they? The fear of failure, the imposter syndrome, the anxiety of the unknown. Joshua was human just like us. He felt the same fear, the same uncertainty. The daunting task ahead could have easily paralyzed him, causing him to retreat back into the familiar comfort of the desert. But here's where the story takes a powerful turn. Joshua didn't let the fear win. He didn't crumble under the pressure. So what made him different? What was his secret weapon against the giants, both outside and inside? It wasn't just about military strategy or brute force. The difference lay in how he dealt with these situations. Instead of letting himself be overcome by anxiety and doubt, Joshua sought strength in prayer, in the counsel of the wise, and in meditating on divine laws. It was a constant process of learning and growth, a journey that shaped him not just as a warrior, but as a man. He didn't rely on his own understanding. He actively sought guidance from a higher power. Before the famous Battle of Jericho, what did he do? He didn't just rush in with his army. He had an encounter, a moment of deep spiritual connection, where he received a strategy that made no logical sense. March around a city and blow trumpets? It sounded absurd. But Joshua trusted the divine instruction more than his own military instincts. This is a crucial lesson. Sometimes the path to victory isn't the one that seems most logical to us. It's the one that requires faith and obedience. This wasn't a one-time thing. Throughout his leadership, Joshua consistently returned to his source of strength. He would consult with the elders, listen to their wisdom, and value their experience. He understood that leadership isn't a solo act. It's about building a community of trust and seeking counsel. And he constantly reminded himself and the people of the laws and promises that had been given to them. By keeping these principles at the forefront of his mind, he created a compass that guided every decision, ensuring he stayed true to his mission and his values. So what can we learn from Joshua's journey? We all have our own Jericho walls to face. It might be a challenging career goal, a difficult relationship, a personal struggle, or a dream that feels impossible. Fear and the pressure can feel overwhelming. But like Joshua, we have a choice. We can let the fear paralyze us, or we can find our own source of strength. We can cultivate a practice of seeking wisdom, whether through prayer, meditation, trusted mentors, or timeless principles. It's about understanding that we don't have to carry the weight all by ourselves. Joshua's story is a timeless reminder that true strength isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. It's about having the courage to trust in a plan bigger than our own, to seek guidance, and to stay grounded in our core beliefs. His journey from the edge of the desert to the heart of the promised land wasn't just a physical one. It was a spiritual and mental transformation. He learned that the biggest walls are often the ones we build in our own minds, and the key to tearing them down is unwavering faith and a commitment to growth. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that inspires. See you in the next video. Have you ever felt like you're wandering in a desert with no end in sight? Life can throw us into these vast, dry places where our goals seem distant and our strength feels like it's evaporating. It's in these moments that we often think about turning back, giving up, or just sitting down in the sand, defeated. But what if I told you that these desert experiences are not just obstacles, but opportunities? Opportunities to cultivate a strength you never knew you had. Today, let us talk about one of the greatest stories of perseverance and faith ever told, the story of Joshua. Now, Joshua wasn't born a hero. He started as Moses' assistant, a young man learning in the shadow of a great leader. He was one of the 12 spies sent into Canaan, the Promised Land. And when 10 of those spies came back with reports of giants and fortified cities, spreading fear and doubt among the people, Joshua, along with Caleb, saw something different. They saw a land of promise, and they trusted that the God who had delivered them from Egypt would also give them this new home. Their faith was immediately tested. Because of the people's unbelief, they were sentenced to wander in the desert for 40 years. Can you imagine that? 40 years? An entire generation would pass away before they saw the promise fulfilled? For 40 years, Joshua had to wait. He had to keep believing, keep serving, and keep his eyes on a future that must have seemed impossibly far away. This wasn't a short-term setback. It was a lifetime of waiting. This is the first profound lesson from his life. True perseverance isn't just about enduring a tough week or a bad month. It's about holding on to faith through years of seeming stagnation, trusting that there is a purpose even in the waiting. When the time finally came for Joshua to lead the people, the challenges didn't stop. In fact, they got bigger. His first major task was to conquer the impenetrable city of Jericho. God's instructions were, to put it mildly, unconventional. No battering rams, no siege towers. Just march around the city once a day for 6 days, and on the 7th day, march around it 7 times. Shout and blow the trumpets. Think about how that must have looked, how it must have felt. It's walking in circles, day after day, while your enemies watch from the walls, probably laughing at you. Doubt must have crept in. The people must have whispered, "Is this really going to work?" But Joshua obeyed. He held fast to the instruction he was given, leading the people in this strange, repetitive act of faith. And on the 7th day, when they shouted, the walls of Jericho came crashing down. This story teaches us that God's methods often defy human logic. Sometimes the path to our breakthrough doesn't look like a direct assault. It looks like patient, consistent, and sometimes repetitive obedience. It's about doing the small things, the daily things, with great faith. Trusting that God is working behind the scenes in ways we cannot see. Your marching might be showing up to your job every day with a positive attitude, even when you feel unappreciated. It might be consistently praying for a breakthrough in your family, even when nothing seems to change. It might be taking one small step each day toward a goal that feels monumental. The lesson of Jericho is that faith-filled persistence shatters walls that our own strength never could. But the story doesn't end there. After Jericho, there were more battles, more giants, and more challenges. Joshua's entire life as a leader was a testament to moving forward. One step at a time, leaning not on his own understanding but on divine guidance. Even in his old age, as he divided the land among the tribes, his final message was a powerful call to remain faithful. He famously declared, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." This is the ultimate legacy of Joshua, a life built on a foundation of unwavering faith and relentless perseverance. He shows us that the deserts of our lives are not the final destination. The walls in our way are not insurmountable. The giants we face are not undefeatable. The key is to combine our effort with our faith. When we feel our own strength failing, that's the moment to cling even more tightly to our convictions, to seek God for the strength we lack. So, the next time you feel like you're in a desert, remember Joshua. Remember the 40 years of waiting, the 7 days of marching? Your breakthrough might be just around the corner. It might require a little more patience, a little more obedience, a little more faith. Don't give up. Keep marching. The walls will come down. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that I hope will inspire and encourage you. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Till next time, keep moving forward in faith. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into the story of a figure who often gets defined by his military victories, but whose legacy is so much richer and more complex. We're talking about Joshua, and specifically, the incredible way he balanced immense strength with deep, genuine compassion. In our modern world, we often see strength and compassion as polar opposites. You're either tough or you're kind. You're either a leader who makes hard decisions or a leader who listens to their people. It's a false choice, and Joshua's life is the ultimate proof. Think about it. This was the man tasked with leading a nation into a new, challenging land. A man who commanded armies and orchestrated some of the most famous battles in history. The fall of Jericho, for instance, is a story of strategic brilliance and unwavering resolve. That's the strength we all know. It required courage, focus, and a will of iron. He couldn't afford to be weak or indecisive. The fate of his people rested on his shoulders. But here's where the story gets truly interesting. Joshua wasn't just a military general. He was a leader of people, and he understood that true leadership isn't about giving orders from an ivory tower. It's about getting down in the trenches with your people, understanding their fears, their hopes, and their needs. The scriptures show us a man who consistently took the time to listen. He wasn't just a commander. He was a counselor, a guide, and a source of reassurance for a nation that was often filled with doubt and anxiety. Imagine the pressure. You've just taken over from a legendary figure like Moses. You're leading millions of people into an unknown, hostile territory. It would be so easy to become hardened, to shut off your emotions and focus only on the mission. You might think, I don't have time for feelings. I have a war to win. But Joshua did the opposite. He cultivated his connection with the people. He reminded them of their shared history and their divine promises, not just as a proclamation, but as a way to inspire and comfort them. His leadership was personal. He was known for his ability to empathize, to truly feel what his people were going through. This wasn't a weakness. It was his secret weapon. It's what earned him their trust and loyalty, which is far more powerful than obedience born out of fear. This balance is what we can call compassionate strength. It's the ability to be firm and decisive when needed, while never losing sight of the humanity of those you lead. It's about understanding that real power lies not in dominance, but in influence. You can't inspire a nation by just being the strongest person in the room. You inspire them by showing them you care, that their well-being is your top priority. Joshua's famous declaration, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord," wasn't just a statement of personal faith. It was a unifying call to his entire nation, a declaration that he was with them, sharing their commitment and their destiny. In a world that often glorifies brute strength and a win-at-all-costs mentality, Joshua's story is a powerful reminder. It teaches us that empathy isn't a liability. It's a vital component of effective leadership. Whether you're leading a company, a family, or just navigating your own life, the ability to listen, to understand, and to connect with others on an emotional level is what truly makes a difference. Joshua was a fearsome warrior, yes, but what made him a legendary leader was his heart. He shows us that the most powerful leaders do and just command respect. They earn it through a combination of strength, integrity, and genuine compassion. It's a timeless lesson we can all learn from. What do you think? How have you seen this balance of strength and compassion play out in your own life or in leaders you admire? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this discussion, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time. Have you ever felt like you're stuck in a waiting room, just going in circles, wondering when your real journey will begin? Imagine doing that for 40 years. That was the reality for the Israelites in the vast, unforgiving desert. And among them was a man named Joshua. For decades, he was Moses' right-hand man, a follower, a student, learning from one of the greatest leaders in history. He saw miracles. He saw rebellion. He saw the highs and lows of a nation in waiting. Think about it. 40 years is a long time. It's long enough to learn every nuance of leadership, every pitfall of human nature, and every detail of God's law. Joshua wasn't just passing the time. He was in the most intense leadership training program imaginable. He was one of the 12 spies sent into Canaan, and one of only 2 who came back with a report of faith, not fear. He saw the giants, but he saw an even bigger God. That moment of courage set him apart. It was a glimpse of the leader he was destined to become. While others complained about the manna and longed for the life they left behind in Egypt, Joshua was learning. He learned obedience from watching Moses. He learned the weight of responsibility when he saw Moses plead for the people. He learned the importance of unwavering faith when faced with seemingly impossible odds. Every day in that desert was a lesson. Every challenge was a test. The scorching sun, the scarcity of water, the constant grumbling of the people, it all forged him, shaping him into a man of incredible resilience and unshakable trust. He was being prepared for a destiny he couldn't yet fully see. Then the day came. Moses, his mentor, his leader, was gone. The 40 years of wandering were over. Suddenly, the entire nation, millions of people, looked to him. The weight of that moment must have been immense. The apprentice had become the master. The follower was now the leader. It's a transition many of us face in our own lives, whether it's stepping into a new role at work, becoming a parent, or taking on a new responsibility in our community. That moment when the training wheels come off and it's all on you, this wasn't just about crossing a river. It was about fulfilling a promise made centuries before. Before him lay the Jordan River at flood stage, a raging, impassable barrier. Behind him were a people who had only known the desert, a generation that had never fought a real battle. And ahead of them, walled cities, powerful armies, and the giants he had seen 40 years earlier. The odds were stacked against him. Fear could have easily paralyzed him. Doubt could have crippled the entire nation. But Joshua was not the same man who had left Egypt. The desert had burned away his fear and forged in him a core of pure faith. The experiences that seemed like endless wandering were actually purposeful preparation. He had seen God part the Red Sea, and he knew God could part the Jordan River. He had learned that God's promises were more real than any obstacle in his path. The courage he had shown as a spy was no longer just a spark. It was a blazing fire. His first command as leader was a test of faith for everyone. He told the priests to carry the Ark of the Covenant and step into the raging river. It was a crazy command from a human perspective, but as soon as their feet touched the water, the river stopped flowing. A path opened up, and the entire nation crossed on dry ground. In that moment, everyone knew the same God who was with Moses was now with Joshua. This was just the beginning. The battles for Jericho, Ai, and the entire land of Canaan lay ahead. Each victory would require new strategies, immense courage, and absolute reliance on God. The skills Joshua honed in the desert strategy, patience, faith, and the ability to inspire others were now on full display. He wasn't just Moses' replacement. He was the leader God had chosen and prepared for this specific time, for this specific task. Joshua's story is a powerful reminder that our desert experiences, those times of waiting, wandering, and learning, are never wasted. They are the training ground for our promised land. The challenges we face are preparing us for the leadership roles we are destined to fill. Joshua's transition from follower to leader wasn't just a change in title. It was the culmination of a lifetime of preparation. He was ready. And because he was ready, he was able to lead an entire nation into their destiny. What desert are you in right now, and how is it preparing you for what's next? Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that explores these timeless journeys of faith and leadership. See you in the next video. Have you ever been on the brink of something huge, something you've waited for your entire life, only to feel a wave of doubt wash over you? Imagine standing at the edge of a promise, a land flowing with milk and honey, after decades of wandering in a barren desert. This was the exact situation for the Israelites. After years of hardship, the promised land, Canaan, was finally within reach. Their leader, Moses, gathered the heads of the 12 tribes of Israel. A pivotal decision had to be made. They needed to know what they were walking into, so a special mission was formed, a reconnaissance operation that would decide the fate of an entire nation. 12 men, one from each tribe, were chosen for this task. Among them was a man named Joshua from the tribe of Ephraim, whose courage and faith would soon be put to the ultimate test. The mission was clear: go into QAnon and bring back a full report. Your 40 days, these 12 spies traveled the length and breadth of the land. They journeyed from the desert of Zin in the south all the way to Rehob in the north. They saw things that must have been astonishing after a lifetime in the desert. They saw lush valleys, hillsides covered in vineyards, and trees heavy with pomegranates and figs. The land was incredibly fertile, just as promised. To prove it, they cut down a single cluster of grapes so massive that it took 2 men to carry it on a pole between them. Can you picture that? A cluster of grapes so huge it needed 2 people to haul it back to camp? They also brought back pomegranates and figs, tangible proof of the land's incredible abundance. It was everything they had dreamed of and more. But they didn't just see the good stuff, they also saw the challenges. They saw fortified cities with walls that seemed to reach the sky. They saw the inhabitants of the land, people who appeared strong and powerful. The spies observed their customs, their military strength, and the sheer number of people living there. They were taking in every detail, every strength and every perceived weakness. This wasn't just a sightseeing tour. It was a critical intelligence-gathering mission. After 40 days of exploration, the 12 spies returned to the Israelite camp. The entire community gathered, buzzing with anticipation. What news did they bring? Was the land as good as they had hoped? Could they finally end their long journey and enter their new home? The spies stepped forward, carrying the giant cluster of grapes and the other fruits, a stunning visual of the land's bounty. They started their report. "We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here's its fruit." You can imagine the cheers and excitement rippling through the crowd. This was it, but then the tone shifted. 10 of the spies painted a very different picture. They spoke of fear. "But the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large," they said. They described the descendants of Anak, who were known to be giants, living in the land. Their report was filled with dread. They concluded that the Israelites were like grasshoppers in comparison, and that they would surely be devoured if they tried to enter. Fear is contagious, and it spread through the camp like wildfire. The people's joy turned to despair. But 2 men stood against this wave of negativity. Joshua and Caleb, the other spy from the tribe of Judah, had a different perspective. They saw the same things, the same fortified cities, the same strong people, but they saw it all through the eyes of faith. They tore their clothes in distress over the people's lack of trust and spoke out. Joshua pleaded with the people, "The land we passed through and explored is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, He will lead us into that land, a land flowing with milk and honey, and will give it to us. Only do not rebel against the Lord. And do not be afraid of the people of the land, because we will devour them. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them." Joshua's message was one of courage and trust. He wasn't ignoring the facts, but he was choosing to focus on a greater truth: the promise and power of God. This moment was a defining one, not just for the nation of Israel, but for Joshua himself. It revealed the heart of a leader who would one day guide his people into that very land. This story teaches us a powerful lesson about perspective. In our own lives, we often face giants and fortified walls. It's easy to feel small and overwhelmed, like a grasshopper. But Joshua's example shows us that faith and courage can change how we see our challenges. It's about choosing to believe in the promise, even when the obstacles seem insurmountable. Thanks for watching. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content like this. See you in the next video. Imagine this scene: 12 spies, a special ops team, sent on a reconnaissance mission into a promised land. They've just returned after 40 days, and everyone is gathered, hanging on their every word. What did they see? What's the verdict? Is this land everything they've dreamed of? 10 of the spies step forward, their faces pale, their voices trembling. They paint a terrifying picture. The land is incredible, flowing with milk and honey, they admit. They even brought back a massive cluster of grapes, so heavy it took 2 men to carry it. But then their story takes a dark turn. People there are giants, they say, descendants of Enoch. The cities are huge, fortified up to the sky. We felt like grasshoppers next to them, and that's how they saw us too. There's no way we can take this land. We'll be crushed. The crowd gasps. Fear spreads like wildfire. Murmurs turn into cries of despair. All hope seems lost. They were so close, on the very brink of their destiny, and now it feels like it's all slipping away. They start questioning everything, even thinking it would have been better to have stayed in slavery in Egypt. That's how powerful a negative report can be. It can paralyze you, make you forget all the miracles you've seen, and convince you that your giants are bigger than your God. But then, 2 men, Joshua and Caleb, step forward. They tear their clothes in grief and frustration, not at the giants, but at the unbelief of their own people. Their report is completely different. Their eyes aren't filled with fear, but with fire. They saw the same giants, the same fortified cities, but they didn't see obstacles. They saw opportunities. Opportunities for God to show up and show off his power. Caleb raises his voice to silence the crowd, says, "We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." Then Joshua joins in, pleading with the people. "The land we passed through and explored is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will lead us into that land, a land flowing with milk and honey, and will give it to us. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not be afraid of the people of the land, because we will devour them. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them." What a contrast. 10 spies saw giants, 2 saw God, 10 saw defeat, 2 saw victory. 10 focused on their own limitations, 2 focused on God's limitless power. It wasn't about the size of the giants, it was about the size of their God. Joshua and Caleb had a different spirit, a different perspective. They remembered God's track record. The same God who parted the Red Sea, who provided manna from heaven, who was a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night, was more than capable of handling a few giants. This story is so relevant for us today. We all face giants in our lives, challenges in our career, health, finances, or relationships that seem insurmountable. And just like the Israelites, we have a choice. We can listen to the 10 spies, the voices of fear and doubt, both internal and external, that tell us we're not strong enough, not good enough, that the problem is too big. Or we can choose the perspective of Joshua and Caleb. We can see our challenges not as dead ends, but as opportunities for God to demonstrate his faithfulness. The key is where we fix our focus. If you focus on the size of your problem, your faith will shrink. But if you focus on the size of your God, your problems will shrink. It's a conscious decision. Joshua and Caleb's confidence wasn't in their own military strength. It was in God's pleasure and presence. If the Lord is pleased with us, that was their foundation. Their victory was dependent on their relationship with God, not on the strength of their enemy. So, what giants are you facing today? Are you seeing them through the eyes of fear or the eyes of faith? Remember the choice of Joshua and Caleb. Choose to believe that the God who is with you is greater than any giant in front of you. He is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine. Don't let a grasshopper mentality keep you out of your promised land. Thanks for watching. If this message encouraged you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content to build your faith. See you in the next video. Have you ever felt like you're up against a giant? It's a problem so big, so intimidating that it just seems impossible to overcome? We've all been there, in those moments. It's so easy to feel small, overwhelmed, and even defeated before we even start. But what if I told you that the key to conquering these giants isn't about becoming bigger or stronger, but about changing the way you see them? Today I want to talk about an incredible figure from history, Joshua, and the powerful lesson his perspective offers us. His story isn't just an ancient tale, it's a timeless masterclass in faith, courage, and the power of perception. When faced with what seemed like insurmountable odds, fortified cities and literal giants, most people saw only defeat. But Joshua saw something entirely different. He saw an opportunity for God to show his strength. So, what was Joshua's secret? How did he maintain such unwavering confidence? It all boils down to where he placed his focus. While others were fixated on the size of their enemies, Joshua was fixated on the size of his God. He chose to look beyond the immediate, scary obstacles, and instead anchored his sight on God's promises and his unfailing power. This is a game changer. The difference between success and failure, between moving forward and staying stuck, often lies in this single choice. What are we choosing to focus on? Think about the challenges in your own life right now. Maybe it's a tough situation at work, a strained relationship, a health concern, or a financial struggle. It's natural to feel the weight of these problems. But Joshua's example encourages us to lift our eyes. Instead of magnifying the problem, we can start magnifying the promises we hold on to. Joshua's faith wasn't a blind leap in the dark. It was deeply rooted in his personal experience and understanding of God's character. He had witnessed God's faithfulness time and time again. He saw God part the Red Sea and provide for the Israelites in the desert. His memory was a highlight reel of God's power and provision. This history with God gave him the confidence to believe that the God who had been faithful in the past would continue to be faithful in the future. This is something we can cultivate in our own lives. We can start by keeping a record of the times God has come through for us, the answered prayers, the unexpected blessings, the moments of strength we didn't know we had. When we intentionally remember God's faithfulness, our trust deepens. Our perspective begins to shift from, look at how big this problem is, to look at how big my God is. The giants don't shrink, but our perception of them does, because they are dwarfed by the greatness of God. So, the next time you face a giant, I want to challenge you to try the Joshua perspective. Acknowledge the challenge, yes, but don't stop there. Deliberately shift your focus. Remind yourself of God's promises. Recall his past faithfulness in your life. Ask yourself, am I viewing this situation through the lens of my fear or through the lens of my faith? Choosing faith doesn't mean the problem will magically disappear overnight. Joshua still had to march, to fight, to act. But he did so with a heart full of confidence instead of a heart full of fear, and that made all the difference. He saw the giants not as roadblocks, but as bread, as nourishment for their faith, an opportunity to see God work in a mighty way. Let's start seeing our giants in the same light. Let us allow our challenges to become the very things that strengthen our faith and draw us closer to the one who has already overcome it all. Thank you so much for watching. If this message resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video. Ever wonder what it takes to step into the shoes of a giant? Imagine being the successor to Moses, the man who parted the Red Sea and received the 10 Commandments directly from God. That was the immense challenge facing Joshua. But this wasn't just about leadership. It was about fulfilling a promise centuries in the old, a promise of a land flowing with milk and honey. Today we're diving deep into the incredible story of Joshua, a tale of courage, faith, and a legacy that echoes through eternity. Let's rewind a bit. Joshua wasn't a newcomer. He was Moses' right-hand man, his trusted aide. He was one of the 12 spies sent to scout out the promised land of Canaan. While 10 of the spies came back with terrifying reports of giants and fortified cities, spreading fear among the Israelites, Joshua and his companion Caleb saw things differently. They saw a land ripe for the taking, a land promised by God. They declared, "The Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them." This moment of unwavering faith, even when outnumbered and ridiculed, was a defining one. It showed the heart of a true leader, one who trusted God's promise over the fearful reports of man. This very faithfulness is what set him apart and prepared him for the monumental task ahead. When the time came for Moses to pass the torch, God's choice was clear. The Lord said to Joshua, "As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and very courageous." These weren't just comforting words. They were a divine commission. The weight of an entire nation now rested on Joshua's shoulders. His first major test. Crossing the Jordan River at flood stage, It seemed impossible. But just as God parted the Red Sea for Moses, he did the same with the Jordan for Joshua. The waters piled up, and the people crossed on dry ground. This miracle wasn't just for practical purposes. It was a powerful sign to the Israelites and their enemies that the same God who was with Moses was now with Joshua. Then came the infamous city of Jericho. Its walls were massive, seemingly impenetrable. But God's battle plan was anything but conventional. No siege engines, no battering rams. Instead, the instructions were simple. March around the city once a day for 6 days, and on the 7th day, march around it 7 times, then shout. Can you imagine the discipline and faith required to follow such an order? It must have looked foolish to the people of Jericho. But Joshua obeyed without question, and on the 7th day, at the sound of the trumpets and the mighty shout of the people, the walls of Jericho came tumbling down. This victory wasn't won by military might, but by radical obedience. Joshua's leadership continued through years of campaigns, as he led the Israelites to conquer the Promised Land piece by piece. His strategies were brilliant, his courage was contagious, and his reliance on God was absolute. He wasn't just a military commander, he was a spiritual guide, constantly reminding the people of their covenant with God. He understood that their success was tied directly to their faithfulness. As Joshua reached the end of his long and fruitful life, he gathered the nation one last time. He didn't boast of his victories or list his accomplishments. Instead, he delivered one of the most powerful challenges in history. He recounted all that God had done for them, from their ancestors to that very day. Then, he laid out a choice. He said, "Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord." This wasn't a command from a king. It was the heartfelt plea of a father. A leader who desperately wanted his people to experience the blessings of following God. Joshua's legacy isn't just about conquering a land. It's about a life lived in complete surrender to God. His story teaches us that true strength comes from faith, true victory comes from obedience, and true leadership comes from a servant's heart. He shows us that when we choose to follow God, no wall is too high and no river is too wide. His final declaration, "As for me and my household, we will serve the Lord," continues to inspire millions today. It's a powerful reminder that the most important legacy we can leave is a spiritual one, a legacy of faith for generations to come. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the life of Joshua. If this story inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that explores the powerful narratives that have shaped our world. Let us know in the comments what part of Joshua's story resonates with you the most. See you next time.